Greetings from Snake Mountain Boat Works on Thursday, May 16. Sadly, Lake Champlain continues rising well above flood stage, which is keeping us and every other sane boater off the water. Our sea trials must just wait for a while. But this morning, it is Joe's turn to apply the first coat of JD Select bottom paint, a blot of bottom paint in shark white on the 1954 Penn Captivator Aristocrat. So I'll just hand it off to Joe, and he can talk about what he's doing and how he got to where he is right this minute.
Yeah, so last week I got the rest of the sanding done on it, got all the clear penetrating epoxy sealer, and let that dry. And then it all got scuffed up, and I ran the Tie-Coat primer, 2 coats of that, and let that dry for a few days. And then this morning, I ran a Scotch-Brite pad over it just to take down any dust or any kind of deformities on it. And now I am rolling on the JD Shark White bottom paint. I'm going to roll and tip it. And this stuff dries kind of quick, so you don't have long to use it.
Well, that's right. This sets up and has an open time of under an hour, doesn't it?
Yeah. You can reapply this stuff in 4 hours at 68 degrees.
This is a great milestone for the Captivator, because once Joe has finished applying the bottom paint, we'll actually be able to flip her over and begin working on her top sides, which we've already stripped, but we have what we call body work to do there. Happily, her new transom is in place, all secured. We decided, in the interests of not getting ourselves into trouble on the raw mahogany of the transom, we actually stained the transom with the same stain we'll use on the rest of the boat, well ahead of actually beginning to varnish it. The reason for that was when Joe started applying the CPS along here, we can tell you from experience, it just does not matter how wonderful the masking tape you use is. You can use froggy tape, elephant tape, gorilla tape, you name the tape. Somehow that clear penetrating epoxy sealer will find a way to sneak down behind, and then you have these wonderful rivulets of sealed wood cascading down the transom. And I don't care how much you sand. You basically have to start over with 60 grit and sand, probably take off a 30-second at least to get through that layer of sealed wood. So, Joe, you stained it actually up to about here to give us a...
Yeah, I left a little bit of play there, about an inch.
Yeah, and then we sealed the entire transom. So now it's totally impervious. If some paint gets on it, we can clean it off. If some varnish somehow inadvertently dropped on it, it's easily sanded off. We really like this JD Select, a blot of paint. The nice thing about it is that not only does it have a short open time, which is a real plus in terms of in a shop like this, fighting cure times, which we do all of the time. And the shark white is it has just a few gray notes in it that really add a dimension to it. So we'll let Joe continue with the shark white. And come back to you at the end of this process, and you'll see her with her first coat of bottom paint in place, that milestone disappearing into our wake, and flipping most likely happening the first part of next week. Well, Joe's got the port side transformed from mucky, earthy orange to shark white. The first coat will show a lot of the primer through. It's not particularly dense in terms of hiding power, and of course white is always difficult anyway. But once we get 3 coats on, the bottom of this boat's just going to be spectacular. All right, we'll let them keep working. Come back to you in a bit. Well, I think Joe is close to the end of the road here. A lot of people simply roll a blot of paint on because it will take on kind of a matte look, feel to it once she's in the water. But in fact, rolling and tipping just gives a better result. She presents herself so much better at the painting stage and afterwards. And in fact, by tipping, we ensure that every single air bubble that the roller leaves behind on the surface has been brushed out, which really gives added protection. We don't have to be concerned about holidays, little pinholes in the protective coating that somehow, just by pure chance, connect with pinholes in the previous layer and create a conduit for moisture to get into the hull. We worked way too hard on sealing this hull, refastening it where needed. It needed perilous little refastening. In fact, Joe, I think you've done one significant repair, one Dutchman, right?
Just the one Dutchman.
Yeah, on the whole boat. So as Joe makes his last strokes, what's your opinion now of this paint? This is the first time you've actually used JD Select, Joe.
I really like it. It pulls really nicely. It gives you enough time, just enough time for for your curing. But when you're brushing it, I've had some paint where it kind of pulls and drags. This stuff, you don't have to thin it, and it just flows so nicely. And for bottom paint, I definitely like it.
Well, on that note, we will end this bottom painting milestone update for the 1954 Penn Captivator Aristocrat. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now from Snake Mountain Boat Works.